Oh, definitely. And we do have some great matches coming up now on stream as well, ladies and gents. A firecracker of a first match. We've got Eduardo Cunha versus Taran Birdee, ladies and gents. So this is Portugal versus the UK. Honestly, with these two players, Jamie, they're just such good players. I mean, everyone knows Edu. Come on, like he just keeps on being consistent tournament after tournament, whilst Taran, on the other hand, has just been equally consistent with regards to more of the UK scene and online tournaments, I think, right, Jamie?
Yeah. Taran has really had a breakout season in 2020. He's been competing before and managed to get his Worlds invite back in 2019, but his 2020 season is really where he's coming into his own. He was able to top cut the Bochum regionals, the very first regional of the formats, and he's been doing really well in online tournaments as well. He's able to get the top 16 in the Victory Road Spring Challenge. Also the Champions Cup, the biggest tournament we've ever had. He was also able to top 16 that. And as the manager of the Team UK, I'm very, very much hoping he will do well here. He has assured me that he does not miss his moves. So if he misses a single move in this match, I'm going to be very, very mad.
Yeah, and Taran, if you are listening, mate, we've got your manager right here being very critical of you in case there's any misfooting with misplays, but regardless...
No, not misplays, just misses. He doesn't miss.
Oh, just misses. No, I'm so sorry.
He's not allowed to miss.
He's not allowed to miss.
Every move is going to connect. That is what he told me.
All right, okay. I hope that happens, mate. I hope for your sake, or for his sake, should I say. But regardless, we've got Edu as well on his end. He's world's top 4 back in 2016, 2019 Oceania International Champion, 2019 world's top 16. This guy just has so many achievements. I might as well not go through the list because we're going to be here all day. Regardless, recently, he's gone ahead and he's won the Solidarity Challenge of the Rose Tower. I think he's won another online tournament, a major, and then he's been involved with the Invitationals as well, where he did good there as well, and with other online tournaments. Come on, everyone at this point knows Edu. For me, personally, he's one of the most consistent players, definitely of this year, 100%. But without any further ado, we are going to go straight into the action. Edu versus Taran right now. Portugal versus UK.
Yeah, this is going to be a very fun one.
Oh, here we go. So we got the team. This is capture carded, recorded, should I say, by capture card, thanks to Edu as well. So we are going to be seeing it from his perspective just for now. On his end, we're going to see the Arcanine, Amoonguss, Corviknight, Primarina, Dragonpult, and Tyranitar. Whilst on Taran's side, we are going to see a Togekiss, Dusclops, Tyranitar, Torkoal, Venusaur, and the Gyarados, Jamie.
Yeah, so it seems like Edu's kind of sticking with a core that he's been using a lot throughout the previous seasons, but now he's got a new Grass Poison in that Amoonguss, replacing that Venusaur with the inconsistent Sleep Powders with the very consistent Spores. So I'm going to be looking forward to see how that Amoonguss fares here. Going to be going against somewhat of a Sun matchup as well. He's got dual weathers, Taran has, with both Tyranitar and the Torkoal, so he gets to control the weather, but he is facing down that opposing Tyranitar, so it may be a battle of the weathers here. Going into this one as well. And yeah, the Corviknights are quite an interesting pick as well. Only really the Torkoal can hit it on Taran's side, but then it does have a lot of things that can help protect that Corviknight. The Tyranitar and the Primarina are going to really heavily threaten down this Torkoal, so Taran might have quite a difficult time breaking through this Corviknight, especially if it's able to get up some of the boosting moves that it very much likes to do, like the Bulk Up or the Iron Defense. Yeah. So we'll have to see if Edu goes with that Corviknight strategy.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it just all depends on what kind of set it is as well, because like you said, there is the Iron Defense strategy, or set, should I say, about it, but it doesn't necessarily have to run Iron Defense. It can just go ahead, maybe even have Bulk Up and just have Iron Head, Gravebird, or, like Roost Tailwind. So there's a lot of options to it, but nevertheless, we are going to get into it, ladies and gents. Taran decides to lead with a Venusaur and Dusclops, whilst Edu goes ahead and leads with the Arcanine and Amoonguss.
Yeah, so a very, very common lead from previous series coming out from Taran here with that Venusaur and Dusclops threatening those Sleep Powders. Only against the Arcanine at this point, the Amoonguss can't be Sleep Powdered. But also, you always have to fear that potential Torkoal switch in, immediately boosting the speed of the Venusaur. And Venusaur doesn't have to just click Sleep Powder. It can go very much on the offensive if it chooses to Dynamax. It now has access to that Vine Lash instead of the Overgrowth as well, getting that residual damage going. And Venusaurs often carry Earth Power as well, so maybe Taran wants to launch off one of those powerful moves into the Arcanine. It can't be redirected by the Amoonguss. Yeah, we'll have to. Edu definitely has to be careful of that Torkoal switching.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a good note to point out, because in this point, I think Venusaur does have a lot of options going for it, even if it is just paired with the Dusclops. I mean, you could see for some reason a switch-in of Torkoal, but it's not maybe to outspeed the Arcanine, but I mean, I guess we're going to find out right now, aren't we? I think that's a Dynamax coming up from Taran's side. It is going to be that G-Max Venusaur, ladies and gents. It is legal, it is alive, and it is lethal from what we can see. Very menacing looking as well. Actually, we're going to see a helping hand come out from the Dusclops, trying to assist its G-Max Venusaur partner. Snarl comes out from the Arcanine. The Venusaur actually misses, ladies and gents. That could prove to be quite crucial right there, because it would have been able to mitigate a bit more of the damage output. That lash of the Dusclops and a G-Max Final Lash does come out. Oh my lord, the amount of damage that actually did onto the Arcanine is insane. It is resisting it. Oh my word. Whilst we do see the Amoonguss go out for the Dusclops and make sure that the following turn is a guaranteed sleep turn, whilst we do see the G-Max Vine Lash overall chip damage at the end of the turn.
Yeah, so Taran told me that he doesn't miss his moves, but he didn't tell me that he also dodges all the moves as well. That was a fantastic dodge on the Venusaur from the Snarl. Now it's going to still be doing all the damage that it would have been doing thanks to that dodge as well, and it's still threatening that Torkoal switching. We saw that the Arcanine did outspeed the Venusaur and was going to reduce the special attack with the Snarl, but now there is the perfect opportunity to switch in the Torkoal because the Dusclops is asleep. But no, we're not going to see that Torkoal switching.
Ooh, we are going to see the Snarl once again coming up from the Arcanine, now landing both of its targets whilst reducing the special attack of the Venusaur, now only to -1. Whilst we actually see the G-Max Venusaur go for a Max Ooze into the Amoonguss slot, dealing good chip damage and allowing itself to go back up to neutral in its special attack stat stages. Whilst now we're just... Oh, and we do see the Life Orb recoil, I should have mentioned before. Whilst we actually see the Amoonguss trying to go for the spawn to the Dusclops slot just in case it decides to switch out. Try to be sneaky and catch a little spore onto the incoming Pokemon, whilst the Arcanine does go down to just 20 HP thanks to the recoil damage of the G-Max Vine Lash.
Yeah, so Edu covering quite nicely for that Torkoal switch-in that could have come in to boost the speed. And Taran also just counteracting the Snarls, going for that Ooze to increase the special attack after it's had its special attack reduced.
Yeah, and actually we're going to see a Snarl for the third time in a row. I believe that might have been a second crit in a row as well. Coming out from the Arcanine once again, taking the Venusaur back down to -1, only to be brought back up to neutral once again. So we see a bit of tug-of-war interaction going on between the Arcanine and the Venusaur there. Venusaur saying, listen, I still want to be able to keep some really good damage output coming out my way, and I'm not going to let you get your way, you snarling Arcanine, whilst the Amoonguss once again just wants to be safe, does once again go into the Dusclops for the cheeky spore, but the Dusclops is now awake and does go for the Nightshade, James.
Yeah, an interesting target of the Ooze into the Arcanine. It would have gone down to that Vine Lash, so a bit of a missed opportunity to get some extra damage into this Amoonguss, and maybe with that Nightshade chip, an Ooze would have been able to take out the Amoonguss. It would have been quite close, but maybe Taran just wants to leave the Amoonguss on the field because it's not threatening this Venusaur at all, but this Dragonpult definitely is. It's going to be resisting both of the same type of attack bonus moves coming out from the Venusaur, and it's going to be threatening that Dusclops with super effective moves as well. As Taran's Dynamax is over as well, Edu still has access to his, so maybe this is what he's been waiting for. He's getting in the Dragonpult to launch off his own max moves after Taran's run out of his.
Oh, yeah, I think you might be right. But with that being said, we actually see the Dusclops switching out for the Torkoal now. Now the Torkoal will be faster than this Dusclops, depending on how... this Dragonpult, sorry, depending on how it's trained. But no, we see the Dragonpult just go for the safe Protect straight away off the bat, whilst the Venusaur was trying to be cheeky, take advantage of its chlorophyll ability to try to put the Dragonpult to sleep. Whilst talking about sleep, we see the Amoonguss putting the Torkoal to sleep and giving it a bit of a timeout, a bit of a break for at least one turn.
Yes, that's one way of stopping potential Dynamax coming out from this Dragonpult, that Sleep Powder, and it's not very accurate. It can definitely miss, and that is what Taran has told me. He's not going to miss that Sleep Powder, so if he does connect with that Dragonpult as it is going for the Dynamax, it's really going to put Edu on the back foot, as it will limit the amount of Dynamax turns he'll be able to go for. The Torkoal going to sleep isn't too bad for Taran. It's done its job. It's got the speed boost on the Venusaur so that it can go for those sleep powders into the Dragapult, and not being able to be redirected by that Amoonguss is key for those sleep powders, but we're not going to see a sleep powder this turn.
No, we're not going to see a sleep powder this turn. We are going to see the Dusclops switch in for the Venusaur. The Frisk does come out from it, revealing the Life Orb on the Dragapult and the Cobra Berry on the Amoonguss. And the Amoonguss actually is going to switch out here for the Tyranitar, wanting to change the weather up a bit. So take it from sun to sand, thanks to its Sandstream ability, getting kicked up. Whilst we actually see a double switch from Taran. He's opting to predict a weather-changing move coming out from Edu. Did it really well and was actually able to bring his own Tyranitar into the field, whilst maybe anticipating a super effective move, or not super effective move, but maybe a ghost-type move from a Dynamax Dragonpult, which we do actually see come out in its form on Edu's side. Edu saying, listen, now it's my turn to Dynamax, and I'm going to try to deal as much damage as I can, but no, there is no Max Phantasm. It goes straight for the Max Airstream, maybe expecting the Venusaur to stay in during that turn. Does boost its speed, but not only its own, but the Tyranitar's as well by one stat stage, whilst also accepting a bit of Life Orb, Recoil, as well as Sand.
Yeah, some really smart plays coming out from both sides there. The Tyranitar switching for Edu's side overwrote the Sun, so then the Venusaur was slower than that Dragapult, and the Dragapult would be able to move first before that Sleep Powder. But then Taran also anticipated that and switched out the Venusaur and the Torkoal as well, preserving that Sun, so he can overwrite the Sand when he wants and get that Venusaur faster than the Dragapult, but it has been going for those Airstreams, so maybe the Dragapult is now faster than the Venusaur even in the Sun. And now that the Dusclops is dangerously low, Trick Room is unlikely to be going up this game, so this Dragapult is looking in a very good position.
Oh yeah, talking about a very good position. We're going to see the Max Phantasm dealing good amount of damage onto the Tyranitar from that Dynamax Dragapult, whilst dropping both the Tyranitar and the Dusclops' defense stat stage by one. And we should be seeing Edu's Tyranitar move next, and we do with the Rock Slide. It should be enough to pick up the KO on Dusclops. Nearly actually picks up the KO onto Taran's Tyranitar. Oh, and does get the flinch, ladies and gents. That could be quite crucial. It all depends on what Taran was wanting to do there. But regardless, I think Taran just wants to get his Sun mode up, I think, Jamie.
Yeah, that was very unfortunate. If that Tyranitar is carrying that new move in that Lash Out, not the Vine Lash, that's the Venusaur, yeah. The Lash Out on the Tyranitar, it did get its stats dropped by that Phantasm, and its move power of the Lash Out would have doubled and would have easily taken out that Dragapult if that's what the Tyranitar was going for. So a very heartbreaking flinch there. But yeah, now the Dragapult is still going to be faster than both of the Pokemon on Taran's side. Can take a knockout on either Pokemon at once, and then the Tyranitar can just follow up with the move. But Taran's going to try and get his Venusaur a bit faster with this Sun.
Yeah, he's going to try to get a bit faster with the Sun coming in, the Torkoal coming in that case. But if seeing that the Dragapult, usually, depending on how they train, they should be faster than the Venusaur, even at +1. And we do see that coming out into fruition. Max Phantasm does come out and does make sure it picks up the KO onto Taran's Venusaur, taking it down right now and leaving Taran not in the best of situations. I think this might be leaning to gain towards Edu's now. He's just got really good board position. We see the Lash Out does come up from the Tyranitar, does deal good damage actually to Torkoal, which is well renowned to be very bulky on its physical side. And we finally see the Tyranitar, very low HP, coming in on Taran's side.
Yeah, and we've still got the Torkoal fast asleep here, so this is very much looking like Eduardo's game. You can just go for a very safe Dragon Darts. That should be enough to pick up the very low HP Tyranitar. and even go for the 100% accurate moves in the Lash Out rather than going for that Rock Slide on the Torkoal. Because it is asleep, it would be very safe for him, and yeah, Taran knows it.
Yeah, that's completely fair. It was that turning point, wasn't it, Jamie, where you just saw this. First of all, let's make a good note that we saw Taran go ahead and use his Gigantamax first. Edu was actually waiting it out just a tiny bit so he could try to see if he could board position a bit better on his end. And he was able to do that by actually getting the Dragonpult in, first of all, safe, and then actually go for the max airstreams. Do you think that was highly crucial?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's something that Edu does very well as well. He seems to be a player that doesn't just immediately click that Dynamax button. He always waits until the perfect moment, and it seems like he got that perfect moment with that Dragapult. But still, a very unfortunate flinch on that Tyranitar. If it was going for that Lash Out, that would have definitely taken the knockout on the Dragapult. And then there's just a Venusaur that can easily take apart an Amoonguss and a Tyranitar. So a very unfortunate flinch there, and it could have gone either way. And unfortunately, we got the flinch. But yeah, it was a very, very close game. That maybe Taran wants to hold off on his Dynamax, because we did see that the Arcanine is content to just Snarl it down. And even though you can max Ooze away that Snarl drop, you can it's still neutering the damage output of that Ooze. And Ooze is one of those max moves that is actually slightly weaker than other Dynamax moves, because the fighting the poison type max moves don't get that full boost, and a little bit weaker as well. So maybe he wants to deal with the Snarls on the Arcanine, maybe with a Sleep Powder, before he goes for that Dynamax, and then he can start firing off the powerful max moves instead.
Yeah, I'll agree with that, though, because at this point, Taran just wants to be able to shut down that mode that Edge is just bringing with the Arcanine and Amoonguss. Amoonguss isn't affected by the Venusaur, so it can just sit there, spore all at once, and just absorb damage, should I say. Whilst the Arcanine, like you did say, it's just sat there, to be honest, and it's taunting Taran, saying, listen, you're gonna have to pick up a straight KO on me, or I'm just gonna try to slow you down over time. So it will be very interesting to see how Taran can go ahead and adapt to perhaps maybe a same lead coming up from Edu, but it all depends on if there are going to be any team preview predictions going into this game 2, which we will find out now. We do see Taran go ahead and switch it up a bit, bring the Togekiss this time round with the Venusaur, whilst we do actually see the same lead on Edu's side as well in the Amoonguss and Arcanine.
Yeah, so a little bit of a switch up from Taran here. He's got redirection on the field, but that doesn't stop those Snarls from connecting with the Venusaur, unfortunately. So still a little bit of an awkward position here. Maybe he's baiting the Arcanine here, leading with something else, and still has that Torkoal switch in potential to boost the speeds, but we're going to see no switches here and just another Snarl.
Yeah, we are just going to see another Snarl come out right now. Arcanine is the fastest Pokemon on the field. It does actually connect with both of its targets, reducing the special attack by 1 stat stage. Whilst we do actually see the Earth Power coming up from the Venusaur, dealing good chip damage. Of course, thanks to that Life Orb as well, even at -1. Whilst we actually see a Yawn coming up from the Togekiss, going into that Amoonguss, whilst the Amoonguss actually tries to reciprocate and retaliate, but is not able to, thanks to these safety goggles cheekily attached to that Togekiss.
Yeah, very good item choice from this Togekiss here, and now the Amoonguss is very useless on the field. It's been yawned. If it wants to stay in, it will get put to sleep. But if it stays in, it's really not threatening anything. So this is putting Taran in quite a good position here. He has been snarled on the Venusaur, but he didn't use up his Dynamax immediately.
Yeah, and just like you said, the Amoonguss was feeling a bit useless. That's why it actually opted to switch out for the Dragonpult. We do see the Arcanine move next. Does go for the Flamethrower. Is not enough to pick up the KO, unfortunately, for Edge on his end. While the Venusaur does go for the Earth Power, just misses the KO, whilst actually dropping the special defense of the Arcanine. Does survive the Life Orb recoil, whilst we see another Yawn coming out from Togekiss, anticipating that switch out, Jamie.
Yeah, this is one of the really nice things that you can do with Yawn. You can really pin your opponents. If you get a Yawn into that slot, you always have to choose, do I just take the turn of sleep immediately afterwards, or do I switch out and stop that sleep? And something nice that you can do with Yawn is you can keep targeting that slot, and eventually something will have to go to sleep. And it's going to be Edu's choice now, what Pokemon he wants to get put to sleep by these Yawns. Does he want to stay in with Dragonpult, get it put to sleep? Does he want to switch out and not do anything for this turn?
Yeah, I think you're right. It's going to be quite crucial now because Edu's just going to have to really think really hard on what he's going to do. He's going to switch out that Dragonpult once again for the Amoonguss right now. So just opting to bring it back in just in case. Snarl does come out once again, does pick up the KO on that Venusaur because it was so low in HP. Whilst once again dropping the Togekiss, now at -3 special attack. And we do see a Dazzling Gleam come out. It is enough to pick up the Arcanine. The Arcanine was on very, very little HP right there. Does pick up the KO there and deal bare minimum damage onto the Amoonguss, resulting in both Taran and Edu having to switch and bring in their next Pokemon.
Yeah, so Edu's broken free of the Yawn Vortex here because Taran did opt to go for that Dazzling Gleam, prioritizing picking up the knockout on the Arcanine rather than trapping that Amoonguss slot in with the Yawns. But now they both get to bring in a fresh new Pokemon. We still know that Togekiss has the safety goggles, so that still makes the Amoonguss pretty much useless on the field. The Togekiss can just redirect whatever it wants away from the Tyranitar that's just been sent in, and Tyranitar's really threatening this Dragapult as well. So the Amoonguss is in a bit of an awkward position. It can still redirect the Tyranitar away if it wants to as well. Yeah. And let the Dragapult survive, not take any damage from those dark moves that could come out from the Tyranitar. And we haven't seen a Dynamax from either player as well, so Edu's still holding off on his Dynamax like he did in the previous game, but Taran also responding in kind with that, sacrificing his Venusaur, not getting up that Vine Lash. Instead, probably looking at this Tyranitar as the most likely Dynamax candidate.
Yeah, I think both players are really thinking hard about considering when to pull the Dynamax trigger because this is very crucial right now. It can come out any moment. It doesn't come out during this turn. We do see the Amoonguss just go for the safe protect, not wanting to get hurt by anything or status inflicted, whilst we see the Dragon Darts actually come out from Edu. Very, very gutsy move because the Follow Me right there could have just nullified that completely. Whilst we do see the Rock Slide come out from the Tyranitar, what kind of damage does it deal onto the Dragapult? Good damage. Is there a follow-up of a Dazzling Gleam from the Togekiss? No, there isn't. There is actually a follow-up of the Yawn. So the Amoonguss half ignored there because the Rock Slide is fine. The Yawn, though, was the crucial thing there coming up from Tara.
Yeah, both players being incredibly brave here with their plays, going for that Dragon Dart in the face of a Follow Me that could have redirected a Spore as well, and also not going for a Rage Powder to take away the Dark moves and the potential Yawn from the Togekiss as well. So both players getting the better end of it though. The Dragon Darts did land into the Tyranitar, and the Yawn did land into the Dragapult as well.
Yeah, and with that, we're actually going to see the Dragonpult now not wanting to get that sleep status inflicted onto it. We do see it switch out for the Tyranitar. Talking about Tyranitar, we see Taran going for Protect with his Tyranitar, and the Amoonguss actually goes for Rage Powder next on Edu's side to try to redirect a Yawn, but no, it doesn't work because of these safety goggles. So I'm not sure if that was just a misplay or was maybe covering for another move, James.
Yeah, and another benefit of those safety goggles. We've got pretty much all of the significant safety goggles interactions in play. The Sandstorm is up, there is potential Spore and potential Rage Powder as well, and the Togekiss is just ignoring all three of those. So it's not taking any residual damage, and it can just ignore this Amoonguss. And now he's got Edu trapped in the Yawn Vortex once again. He's been able to Yawn that Tyranitar, bypassing the Rage Powder as well. It's been very good for him, and Edu still has to decide whether he wants to just let this Tyranitar go sleep or if he switches out into the Dragapult.
Oh, and we're actually going to see a superpower from Taran's Tyranitar being able to pick up the one-hit KO onto Edu's Tyranitar. So bye-bye Tyranitar on Edu's side. Very crucial play, whilst we actually see the Dazzling Gleam does come out from the Togekiss, deals very, very little damage, whilst the Spore does come out now and does actually put Taran's Tyranitar into... Oh, sorry, not into sleep. It does put it to sleep, Jamie. I'm losing my words.
Yeah, so trying to cover for that Dragapult switching quite nicely. The superpower would have taken out the Tyranitar as we just saw, but then the Dragapult is dangerously low as well. The Togekiss has been snarled down, I think, 3 times, so it is quite reduced in its special attack, but probably enough to take out the Dragapult from that range as well. And now if Edu wants to go for his Dynamax, his Pokemon are either an Amoonguss, which really doesn't want to Dynamax, or this Dragapult, which is below half health already, so not making use of the Dynamax the most that you can, but it looks like he still wants to go for it.
Does look like he's still going for it, and he does, with the Dragonbolt going ahead on Edu's side and gaining that Dynamax form. Looking very menacing right now, indeed. It's all about, the question is, what does Taran do? Does he reciprocate? He doesn't. Edu does go for the Max Phantasm. Isn't enough to pick up a KO, but does drop the defensive stat stage of both the Tyranitar and the Togekiss on Taran's end. Does, of course, incur Life Orb Recoil. The Tyranitar is going through its guaranteed first turn of sleep. Whilst talking about sleep, we see Yawn come out from Togekiss, just trying to slow down that Dynamax potential. And Amoonguss does actually reveal Energy Ball and does not pick up the KO. It just barely misses it onto that Tyranitar.
Yeah, crucial Sandstorm boost there for the Tyranitar, boosting up its special defense, so it is able to take that super effective Energy Ball. And now Edu is going to sleep. He can't switch out his Dragonpult anymore. He is down to his last two Pokemon. Dragonpult will be going to sleep this turn, so it will be significant whether the Togekiss has Protect here or not. If it does have Protect, it is most likely going to be going for that, so that the Dragonpult will definitely be going to sleep, and then you can pick it off with that Dazzling Gleam. And we also don't know what the final Pokemon in the back is for Taran yet. We did see the Torkoal and the Dusclops in the first game, and both of them would be pretty reasonable against both of the Pokemon on Edu side of the field. When their Dragapult is sleeping, the Torkoal can easily pick off the Amoonguss and the Dragapults, and the Dusclops won't have to fear those Phantasms.
Oh, so it does actually have Protect on that Togekiss, like you were speculating, Jamie. Does reveal on Taran's end. Max Phantasm will be going into that slot once again, and will just be missing the KO, unfortunately, for Edu's side. So last minute move, trying to save himself maybe a bit before the Dragonpult does incur that sleep status and guaranteed sleep for next turn. Tyranitar doesn't wake up first turn that it can wake up, and does actually go down to Amoonguss's Energy Ball, forcing Taran to actually bring in his final Pokemon on his end. Whilst the Sandstorm does subside, but it doesn't matter for that safety goggles, Togekiss.
Yeah, so we'll have to see what the final Pokemon is here for Taran. Really, any of the Pokemon in the back should be okay because the Dragapult is asleep, and yeah, this Gyarados is very much okay. Because Taran has been able to preserve his Dynamax, if that Gyarados has access to Bounce, is able to go for a Max Airstream into the Amoonguss and take it out. And yeah, this is looking pretty good for Taran as well. Because the Dragapult can't move, it's going to be taking either a Dazzling Gleam or a move from the Gyarados as well. And Togekiss, even if it wants to, it can just click Follow Me as well and just keep that Gyarados safe from the Amoonguss as Gyarados picks off the Amoonguss and the Dragapult. So it's looking very good for Taran here.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, because I think Follow Me would be the play right now, because if this Amoonguss does have Cobra Berry, it might actually survive. And it might survive maybe a Dazzling Gleam as well and put the Gyarados to sleep. So it'll be very crucial to see what actually happens if it does survive. If it doesn't, I mean, it's a Max Airstream stab type boosted from the Gyarados, so it could be really, really strong. And talking about really, really strong, we see the Gyarados. It does Dynamax as well. It's not that Lake of Rage shiny, but it looks very, very angry. And we are actually going to see this Togekiss does go for the Follow Me. Taran does want to be just that tiny bit more safe on his end. The Dragonpult does incur its guaranteed sleep turn right now, whilst Max Airstream does come out. Will it be going to the Amoonguss? No, it actually goes into the Dragapult. So it just wants to absolutely get rid of that threat and be able to redirect maybe any moves coming out from the Amoonguss thanks to that Follow Me. So we do see the Dragapult on Edu's side does actually unfortunately get fainted, or does faint, sorry, should I say, on Edu's side. But no, we actually see the Moxie interaction right there. So I think this might be all part of Taran's plan. He does get a +1 attack stat boost thanks to taking the KO onto that Dragonpult, whilst we do see the Energy Ball is more than enough to pick up the KO onto that Togekiss.
Yeah, so with that Moxie, I think even if this Amoonguss was carrying that Cobra Berry, it is going to be very likely in range of that Max Airstream. So looking very good for this Gyarados here. And even if the Amoonguss was able to survive and get the Spore off, it's really not doing enough damage to this Gyarados to be able to take it out in time. And now we're going into a Game 3.
Oh, Game 3, Jamie. This is close. This is intense. This is looking such a good first feature match for the day. I'm really happy to be seeing it. You see these top quality players just bouting it out right now and just trying to get into each other's heads and just show complete understanding over the board position, isn't it?
Yeah, I think we saw very well there how effective holding off your Dynamax can be. We saw it in game 1 with Edu holding off his Dragapult rather than the Venusaur just immediately Dynamaxing. Both players, I think it may have been 7 or 8 turns into that match before we saw a Dynamax. And
Yeah.
Really showed at the end that Gyarados just couldn't be stopped at the end. Taran held off his Dynamax. He had potential to go for the Dynamax on the Venusaur like he did in Game 1 immediately. He could have Dynamaxed the Tyranitar at any point that it was on the field, but saving it for that Gyarados meant that Edu just really didn't have any chance going into the end game.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think just being able to preserve that, you're right, because we're not just, it's so uncommon to actually see 7 or 8 turns past, or I don't even know how many it was, because it felt like it, that's for sure. Being able to just go ahead and, you know, like hold off on that Dynamax trigger, because they knew that the moment they need to click the trigger, it had to be game winning, because it's all about situational awareness with regards to the board position from both players. They're both aware of it. They both know that each other are aware of it. So they're having to really, really think 2 to 3 or even more turns ahead of even the current one, Jamie. So that in itself just shows the level of gameplay we are witnessing right now.
Yeah, and I think that's a thing that a lot of players can learn as well. A lot of players' tactics are Dynamax turn 1, try and blast through and see what happens. But being able to hold off on that Dynamax, being able to, as you say, pull the trigger at the perfect moment is a very key skill and something that a lot of players need to think about as they go into the future matches.
Yeah, I mean, that's 100% well put, mate. Because it's very, very, very crucial. Regardless, we are going to actually see the lead Pokemon switch up right now for Game 3 on Taran's, and he decides to bring the Tyranitar this time, so no more Venusaur as a lead, whilst we actually see a new inclusion of Pokemon in comparison to the first 2 games on Edu's side in the form of that Corviknight, as well as the Arcanine paired next to it.
Yeah, so I think Edu, realizing that the Amoonguss wasn't too effective now, that he's seen that the Togekiss does carry those safety goggles and really just makes the Amoonguss useless. And now, because he saw that there wasn't a Torkoal in the previous game from Taran, his Corviknight may be looking pretty good.
Ooh, talking about looking good. That Will-O-Wisp Arcanine is not, because it did actually miss it onto the Tyranitar, whilst the Tyranitar was able to get a free Rock Slide off, and its cheeky little fairy flying type partner was able to get a Yawn onto the Arcanine, whilst we actually see a Bulk Up revealed onto that, Corviknight on Edu's side, being able to boost not only its attack stat by 1 stage, but also its defense.
Yeah, and this is one of the dangerous things about this Corviknight. If Taran hasn't brought that Torkoal, it now has a boost to its defenses, and most of his Pokemon are either physical attackers, which can't do as much damage because of the bulk up, or they're not going to be doing super effective damage with their attacks as they are special attackers. So it's only really that Torkoal can hit it. So I really hope for Taran's sake he does have that Torkoal hiding in the back, else this Corviknight can really get out of hand. The Will-O-Wisp miss was a bit unfortunate for the Arcanine here. Would have taken a lot less damage from those Rock Slides, but it doesn't want to try and go for that Will-O-Wisp again. It just wants to switch out instead.
Yeah, and it does actually switch out into a Dragonpult now on Edu's side, whilst we actually see the Tyranitar on Taran actually switching out for the Torkoal. So, Jamie, your prayers have been answered. The Torkoal is now on the field, does bring the sun up as well. Very curious to see what this Togekiss is going to go for. It is going to go for a Yawn, back-to-back Yawn onto the Dragonpult now. Whilst an Iron Head does come out, is it enough to pick up a KO? It is not from the Corviknight onto the Togekiss, but it does deal over half of its HP.
Yeah, so we're back in the Yawn Vortex once again. Edu will have to decide if this Dragonpult is going to sleep or not. And Corviknight is also a Pokemon that very uncommonly carries Protect, so if this Torkoal wants to launch off a fire move, Togekiss can just go for that redirection in the Follow Me, and the Torkoal, if it's carrying Eruption, would definitely take out the Corviknight. We have seen a lot of shift towards a more kind of supportive Torkoal as well, where they don't carry those offensive fire moves, instead opting for the Body Press as their offensive move. So we'll have to see what this Torkoal decides to do, if it can do a lot of damage to this Corviknight.
Yeah, and before we do, we're actually going to see the Dragonpult switch out for the Tyranitar now, switching the weather once again back to sand, because Edu's saying, listen, I just want to get out of the sun, it's feeling a bit hot. We're actually going to see the Corviknight switch out for the Arcanine. Does get that Intimidate off onto both Taran's Pokemon, but of course that doesn't matter because they're basically more specially attack built as Pokemon. Naturally, we do see the Togekiss go for the Follow Me. Does want to redirect any sort of moves from Edu's side. Bloody, oh my lord, I am losing it. We see the Eruption come out from the Torkoal. Does deal good damage as well.
Yeah, so very good switch in for Edu here. Switching in the sand to reduce the damage of the Eruption and switching in 2 resisted hits. So really, if he can just take out that Torkoal and still have his Corviknight left around, he's going to be looking in a really good position. So Taran really needs to preserve that Torkoal, but Edu can just play off that. Expecting the switch, he can just really freely click the Rock Slide button as well, facing down the Togekiss and the Torkoal.
Yeah, that's a good point. He could naturally do it because they're both super effective as well targets. But we actually see the Arcanine switch out for the Dragonpult and the Torkoal once again now switch out for the Tyranitar. Tyranitar decides to pop back in whilst we see Togekiss actually go for the Protect on Taran's side. The Rock Slide does come out from the Tyranitar on Edu's side and will be able to land on the opposing Tyranitar, its Nemesis, and deal good chip damage.
Yeah, that was some very nice chip on this Tyranitar, and that's probably the Pokemon that's going to be Dynamaxing for Taran in this game, so getting any extra chip onto it is very useful. The Togekiss did have an opportunity to go for another Yawn there to pin Edu with one of his slots, but if he did that, he would have taken that Rock Slide and lost his Togekiss, so he is in slightly an awkward position again now. The Dragonpult and the Tyranitar are now in without the Yawn status, so can fire off whatever attacks they want to as well, and the Togekiss is very low as well. It will be in range of whatever attack the Tyranitar or the Dragonpult wants to go for. Say they go for a Rock Slide and a Phantasm or Airstream. And then there's just the Corviknight waiting in the back as well. We're ready to switch in when there's no Torkoal. And currently there's no Torkoal on the field. So it's looking like quite a nice ball position for Edu at the moment.
That's true, because he could easily just go for the max Airstream and the Superpower, but no, we're actually going to see a Taran not wanting that play to go down, and does actually switch out the Tyranitar now for the Torkoal, once again resetting the weather back to sun from sand, and actually from Edu's side, we see the Tyranitar switch out for the Arcanine now, and not wanting maybe to go for that play, and maybe actually expecting Taran to expect that play. So it's the predict of the predict that I have previously mentioned that we may have just witnessed right now, Jamie. And with that being said, we're actually going to see the Togekiss go for the Dynamax. So actually Taran trying to be a bit more flexible with his plays and maybe try to catch out Edu and try to maybe damage and get rid of that Dragonpult. Let's see if he's going to be able to do it. Maybe not this time around, because we actually see Edu's Dragonpult go for Protect. The Max Starfall does come out and does go into that Dragonpult. What kind of damage does it deal? Doesn't deal as much, but of course it is 1/4 of the damage it would have normally dealt if it didn't Protect.
Yeah, and a bit of a shame he didn't go for the Airstream instead there, so he could put himself faster than the Dragonpult. That was very nice damage onto the Dragonpult, but the Togekiss is still slower, and choosing to Dynamax your less than half HP Pokemon is losing a lot of the HP potential you could get from your Dynamax, so yeah, it'd be close if that Togekiss is in range of a Dragonpult's max move if it decided to go for that as well. And now that the Togekiss has committed to the Dynamax, it can't redirect again for at least the next 2 turns. So this Torkoal is looking a bit more threatened as well, and Torkoal really needs to be kept around to be able to deal with that Corviknight. And Arcanine still has access to those Snarls because there wasn't an Airstream from the Togekiss as well. Arcanine can just click that Snarl against the 2 special attackers, and the Togekiss really won't be doing too much damage.
Yeah, so that Dragonpult actually fearing a KO on this turn does switch out for the Tyranitar. If this is a max Starfall into that slot, that Tyranitar will incur huge amounts of damage as well. Does get the stand up from the Sun. Talking about Sun, Torkoal's wanting another break. Does actually go out into the Venusaur this time round, and we actually see a max guard coming up from Taran's Togekiss, maybe not wanting to be dealt any Snarl damage, and special attack drop as we do see come out from the Arcanine. Does land on the Venusaur, does actually bring it down to -1 special attack, and actually allow the Venusaur to incur some chip damage, and we don't actually see chip damage incurred onto the Arcanine, James.
Yeah, so that's going to be carrying those safety goggles as well, and keep it safe from any sleep powders that the Venusaur will want to go for. It's very much in range of an Earth Power, though. Even at the -1 special attack, the Earth Power would be able to take out the Arcanine, but still quite an awkward position here. There's only one more turn of Dynamax for the Togekiss. It didn't take a Snarl because it did go for that Max Guard, so it will be able to fire off whatever move it wants to at full power at the moment. Whether it wants to go for that Airstream, try and get the Venusaur faster than the Dragonpult even out of Sun as well, if that's the tactic that Taran wants to go for. Yeah. But then the Arcanine can still just fire off a Snarl to reduce the special attack even further, can fire off a Flamethrower still into the Venusaur, as you're unlikely to switch out your Togekiss into the Torkoal to get that Sun boost.
Oh, and we're actually going to see the Tyranitar on Edu's end switch out now for the Corviknight. So maybe trying to bait a max Starfall, whilst we do actually see the Arcanine go for the Protect on Edu's side, just not wanting to maybe get any damage dealt onto it. We see the Leaf Storm come out into the not very effective damage output of the Corviknight. Does, of course, incur some Life Orb recoil. The Max Starfall, does it go into the Corviknight slot now? It does. So Edu was able to bait Taran into making that play right there. And maybe just try to make sure that he could start chipping away and maybe outlast that Dynamax turn on the Togekiss, which he was able to successfully do.
Yeah, now you can safely switch out your Togekiss into the Torkoal to get the Sun Boost without using up any of your turns of Dynamax. So still quite an awkward position, though. We still don't know if this Corviknight's carrying the Lumberry, which it so commonly carries, if the Venusaur wants to try and go for the Sleep Powder as well. And the Arcanine as well, having the safe goggles, can't be Sleep Powdered, but this Dragonpult can.
Yeah, this Dragonpult can. And talking about Dragonpult, we do actually see it come straight in for the Arcanine. We actually see the Togekiss switch out once again now for the Torkoal, wanting to bring the Sun and the Speed Boost onto the Venusaur. Is this Venusaur going to try to put the Corviknight to sleep? Oh, no, actually doesn't. Just opts for an Earth Power. Does go into the Dragonpult, which was previously the Arcanine. Doesn't deal as much damage as it would have liked, but we actually see the Corviknight go for the Roost. Does want to try to regain all of that hefty amount of HP and was able to do so quite freely there.
Yeah, it was, and now all the damage that was done to the Corviknight from all those not super effective moves is just completely negated. It's still a bit of an awkward position for Taran, though. He did set up that Misty Terrain with the Starfalls, so he can't go for a Sleep Powder into the Dragonpult to keep it safe, allowing the Torkoal to go for those full-powered eruptions. And because the Venusaur is at such low special attack, I think it's a -3 stages after that Leaf Storm, and one of the Snarls as well, so it's really not doing too much damage, as we saw from that Earth Power. It won't be threatening too much damage onto the Dragonpult, and it can't go for a Sleep Powder into it either, so the Venusaur is in a very awkward position, and the Torkoal still wants to get those fire moves into the Corviknight, but it's really threatened by this Dragonpult as well.
I think the Venusaur realized and maybe heard you talk about how awkward of a position it was in, hence why it actually switched out for the Tyranitar. Does get the stand up right now. And talking about switching out, we see the Corviknight switch out for the Tyranitar, maybe not wanting to get any fire type damage dealt onto it. And we actually see the Torkoal switch out as well from the from Taran's end for the Togekiss. So double switch right now, trying to maybe reposition himself a bit more better. Maybe anticipating a Dynamax coming up from Edu. So it all depends on what move Edu goes for and who he targets, which Pokemon he targets with the Dragonpult now. So Dragonpult, like you've been mentioning, Jamie, we've been seeing a lot of Dynamaxing from Edu's side, even with half HP Pokemon. So trying to go for the risky pivotal moments of the game. We actually see the Max Airstream does come out, and I think it does actually pick up the KO onto the Togekiss. So well played there, safe play, I think. He's trying to get that mode where he starts making sure the Dragonpult and the Tyranitar are fast enough to outspeed everything and just dish all that damage they can. And he's been able to successfully, so far this turn, do it.
Yeah, that Airstream is going to be very crucial for Edu going into these future turns. Airstream should put the Dragonpult faster than the Venusaur, even in the sun. So it won't be able to go for those Sleep Powders if it switching out the Tyranitar into the Torkoal to get that Sun boost. And now also giving the Airstream boost to that Tyranitar means that it will be able to get the Superpower off into the Tyranitar with no fear of redirection anymore from this Togekiss. So it's looking pretty grim for Taran.
Yeah, it's not looking the best for Taran, only because of the fact that Dragonpult is so fast, even at +1. So it is going to be outspeeding it, even if it is in the sun for the Venusaur. But regardless, we're actually going to see the Torkoal come in right now. Does reset the weather into sun this time round. So it's going to be quite crucial to see if Taran can somehow make it out. I don't know, Jamie. It's looking really tough for him right now.
Yeah, the Dragonpult can just pretty safely fire off Phantasm, reduce the defenses, and then a Rock Slide would take out the Torkoal with those reduced defenses, and a Superpower would take out the Tyranitar. And even a Venusaur switch in is really not going to like taking those moves, especially a Phantasm. And because of that Airstream boost, Edu will definitely be moving first with both his Pokemon. And yeah, he should be able to just pick the knockouts he wants to on Taran's side.
Yeah, it will be that case, and we do actually see the Tyranitar going for Protect right now. on Taran's end. Max Wormwind this time coming out from the Dragonpult does deal a bit of chip damage, but more importantly, it actually reduces its attack stat right now by 1 stage. Torkoal doesn't necessarily get affected by this, of course, because it's mainly special attacking Pokemon. We do see the Rock Slide on Edu's side. It does go and land successfully onto Torkoal. What kind of damage does it do? Good chip damage, to be honest. But more important, does it get a flinch? It doesn't. Burning Jealousy does come out. So I think Edu actually made a really good play there. Whether he meant to or not, I don't know, because that was really good.
Yeah, Burning Jealousy, one of those new moves coming out from the Torkoal. Would have been very good on the Airstream turn, as that's the move that would be boosting the stats of the Dragapult and the Tyranitar. But unfortunately, the Phantasm and the Wormwind are reducing the stats of Taran's Pokemon instead. So trying to get the burns onto the Dragapult and the Tyranitar. If he got the burns onto both Dragapult and Tyranitar, that could have actually been a way back into the match for this Torkoal. It's unlikely to be carrying Body Press at this point, which is another move that the Torkoal likes to carry, as it probably would have gone for it into the Tyranitar that previous turn.
Oh, we actually see the Tyranitar on Taran's then attempting a double protect, is not successful in doing so. Whilst we see the Max Phantasm, is enough to pick up the KO from that Dragapult onto the Torkoal. So right now, Edu's thinking, I don't need to try to risk anything, and I just need to try to pick up KOs right now, which he does, because he's able to pick up the double KO right there on Taran's end, and pretty much giving the game straight to him this set as well, in that huge amount of offensive pressure that Dragonpult was able to exert.
Yeah, it was interesting seeing both players opt to Dynamax Pokemon that were below half HP here, and it seems to be a lot more successful for Edu. He was able to pull that trigger, get that Airstream boost, and then there really wasn't any way back into the match for Taran here. And now he's facing down 4 Pokemon with just his Venusaur left, and all the sleep powders in the world can't save him.
Yeah, exactly. It's just... right at this point, I think it's just going to be just finishing up the game on Edu's end, only because he just wants to make sure that he doesn't make any sort of misplay, maybe make a switch out and get subjected by a sleep powder. The Dragon Dart will be more than enough to pick up the KO onto that Venusaur, making this first feature match, ladies and gents, be decided, and Edu being able to pick up the win, to be honest. So Portugal being able to be pushed forwards into the momentum against the UK, thanks to their manager in that spectacular game. I mean, that was an insane game, wasn't it, Jamie?
Yeah, that was a fantastic game. And that brings the score to 3-3 between Portugal and UK now. So very, very close finish going into these last couple of games as well. And Taran did not miss a move, so he was correct.
He did. That's good. He didn't miss a move, but honestly, shout outs to both of these players, because they just showed that top level that you want to see in these kind of tournaments, these kind of streams as well. Like, they're able to really analyze both each other and the board position quite phenomenally, if I do say so myself, because they knew what they had to do and what could happen. So it's very hard to distinguish between what the correct play is, because it's all dependent on what your opponent does and if you recognize it too, because that could have gone either way, to be honest. Like, what do you think was the main crucial thing of that set, Jamie, that was able to put Edu that one step ahead of Taran and be able to give him the set?
I think it's the choice of when to Dynamax for sure. Even across all 3 games, we saw the Vine Lash was very nice residual damage, just immediately getting that Vine Lash out. But then once the Dynamax was done and the Dragapult came in, it pretty much just swept through for Edu in that game 1. And then game 2, we saw both players hold off on their Dynamax. And then when the Gyarados came in, there was no chance for Edu to come back after that Dynamax happened on the Gyarados. And then both players Dynamaxing 2 Pokemon that were below half health in their game. The Togekiss was very unexpected going for that Dynamax, as it's usually, with the safety goal, was much more of a supportive Togekiss and doesn't opt to Dynamax too much, but not hitting the target it wanted to. It was going for that Starfall into the Dragapult, but didn't catch that. And then because Edu was able to hold off with his Dragapult, he was able to get that one key Airstream boost that just locked up the game for him.
Yeah, and we did actually see some very interesting items. The safety goggles, both on the Togekiss and the Arcanine, as we did confirm. It didn't actually come into play more so for the Arcanine, but it definitely did for that Togekiss.
Yeah, it just made the Amoonguss completely useless in that game 3. being able to redirect those spores and not be put to sleep. Also being able to bypass the Rage Powder and be able to Yawn the partner of the Amoonguss. That's something that a lot of players don't usually consider with the safe goals. It is usually just avoid spores and avoid sleep powders. But then there are also those added effects of avoiding all kind of powder moves. And Rage Powder, being a powder move, can be completely ignored. And then you trap that other slot into the Yawn vortex.
Yeah, completely agreed. Huge congrats to both players with how they played. Really, really top stuff. Top quality, if I do say so myself. But, of course, congrats to Edu. He was able to go ahead and bring Portugal up to 3-3 versus the UK, just like Jamie updated us with. Very, very close things. All on the last day as well to try to decide who the week 1 winner is in their group.